Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast. Clap that. What is that called?
I would call it a clapper myself.
Ooh, clap that clapper.
But
Clapper girl?
I'm not actually sure. I think it's called a slate. I'm like
Okay.
100%
That sounds
sure.
familiar.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Hi guys, and also gals, and NBs of all flavors. My name is Willows, and welcome to the podcast called Alcohol Beyond This Point. This
Hi.
is Tyler.
Hi, Willows. I am Tyler, as you so kindly edified me. It's a great day to be alive and not be underwater.
Yeah, the entire fucking west coast of our country is underwater. There was a bunch of landslides and the mountains coming down. It's destroyed 3 different highways.
You know, my favorite part about this week's news is?
Huh.
There was a congresswoman that stood up in Congress in session and was trying to make a case for armed invasion of Australia.
I have no response. You have stumped me. 2 minutes into the podcast, I have been stumped.
I'll give you 2 guesses.
Marjorie Taylor Carla Green.
No, not who it was.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't her.
Okay.
Which is hilarious.
2 reasons why we should invade them?
Yeah. Like 2 guesses.
2 guesses to
as
get
to
it.
one of the reasons.
Natural resources.
That was the quiet thing.
Okay.
What was the thing they said out loud?
Is it even more ridiculous?
Yes. Resources is logical.
Okay, fair. They like minorities too much.
No.
Okay. What was it?
To basically not overthrow, but to counterbalance and put in check the tyranny that is the government that is locking down the cities because of COVID.
Okay, so they're saying that the COVID restrictions in Australia are famously tight.
Yep. And
they're saying that is so egregious that they should invade them.
Yeah.
That...
She's asking, like, how much longer are we going to wait until we invade Australia, was basically what she said.
I'm kind of down, if we're being honest. Fuck those Aussies.
I think this is just how we need to deal with everything. It's never gone poorly.
Invasion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worked out pretty well for the United States over the...
Can you think of a worse place to have an insurgency?
Do you mean, like, to have, like, a land war?
Yeah.
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 Than Australia.
Yeah.
Do they have a standing army? Well, they must.
Do they need one?
Well, they need one if America decides to invade
They've
them.
got kangaroos. They've got scorpions. Snakes.
You know, if you come up to a kangaroo with a fake pouch, the baby one will jump into it.
I believe it.
It's very cute. That's how they're...
Yeah, and then you get punched out by the dad.
That's how, like, zookeepers get them to come over them. They wear, like, a kangaroo suit.
Yeah.
And then they jump in their little pouch. I like them.
That's adorable.
They're pretty nice.
Yeah, it's pretty wholesome. Leave the Aussies alone.
Leave the Aussies alone.
Yeah, I thought it was fucking parody when I saw the headline, and then I read into it.
What was the thing? Let's talk about this. I thought it was parody today when I saw it. They're renaming the arena,
Staples Center,
Staples Center to Crypto.com Center.
Yep, 20-year deal.
20 years is fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's the first time the name has been changed since the place was built in 99, I guess.
Crypto.com is a crypto trading website, if you didn't realize from the name. $100 million I heard they spent.
I feel like it's more.
I feel like that's what I heard.
Okay.
Maybe it's $100 million a year, but that seems too high now.
Yeah, 100 years.
So that'd be $2 billion for $100 million, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're getting naming rights on the Los Angeles, like, the fucking Staples Center. It's like one of the most iconic venues in the world.
I saw $100 million. I'm pretty sure that was total.
Yeah.
But maybe it's a year. I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, what do you think? Worth it? Business talk.
Yeah, so I think in general, buying the naming rights for buildings is just a dick swinging thing.
100%.
It's not. Nobody goes to a bank because, oh, I saw the TD building downtown. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to pick my bank based on that. Canada Life Center, they just renamed the MTS Center to. What the
Yep.
fuck is Canada Life? Is that an insurance broker?
Yeah, it's Great West Life.
Is it?
Is renamed to Canada Life.
I legitimately was just guessing. I didn't even know that. So stuff like that I think is dumb. But I think in the crypto space where there's so many people that don't I think cryptocurrency now is kind of a household thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like most boomers have heard about it on the news. They don't understand it, don't know what it is really, but I think most people, over 50% of people, I think have heard cryptocurrency now.
Yeah.
And so I think this move is good for them. It's a good business move because I think it legitimizes the entire idea of cryptocurrency trading.
That's exactly what I was going to say. These naming rights schemes are typically their legitimacy play.
Yes, like there was a multi-level marketing health and wellness company, Vima, who they bought the naming rights for some basketball stadium in Arizona.
No, they didn't get the naming. I don't think they got naming rights for the whole place.
It was like a lounge or whatever. They had like a Vima lounge, Verve lounge.
They had a massive VIP lounge on the upper deck.
And and I remember they used that.
And they had a billboard on the building, I think.
Because this was a company that later got fined and mostly shut down by the federal
FTC?
No, the FCC? FTC?
I don't know.
The Trade Commission just does...
The FDA for money.
Yeah, whatever. They got shut down by some American organization for basically running a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, for specifically product loading and misleading advertising.
Anyway, whatever. So this isn't alleged. They were a scam. And it's been proven in court, so don't sue me. But they bought the naming rights for a well-known lounge in a well-known stadium, presumably so they can be like, well, we're not crooks. Look, would they give us a fucking name in a stadium?
Yeah, and that was used a lot by affiliates too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the same idea. Not that I'm saying crypto.com is a scam, even though I tried to deposit $1,000 one time and they took 3 months to return it after they failed to deposit it into my account, but that's a whole different story.
Nice.
If you're going to trade cryptocurrency in Canada, use either Binance or Wealthsimple.
Netcoins is decent too.
If you want a Wealthsimple referral link, hit me up.
Yeah, today's shot sponsored by
yeah.
Wealthsimple.
Anyway, but I think that this will build the legitimacy of cryptocurrency as in general, and I think it's 100%. A good business move.
Yeah.
Because also your fucking name is crypto.com. That's a fucking genius name for a cryptocurrency trading site.
Yeah.
Like adding the .com. What was I reading? There was a couple company like during the .com boom, when just because you owned a website in the early 90s, people were just giving you money.
Yeah.
There was brick and mortar companies that were just changing their name to .com, and then their stock would go up.
Yeah.
People now are doing that with the word blockchain.
Yeah.
They're just like a tech company that doesn't do anything on the blockchain.
Yeah, we do blockchain lawnmowers.
Yeah, and they changed their name to blockchain and their stocks have gone up. I saw some article about that.
It's like having an idea or a design for an electric vehicle and then becoming worth $100 billion.
So you want to talk about Rivian is what you're saying.
And Lucid.
Okay, so Rivian I'm more familiar with.
Lucid is now worth more than Ford.
Two electric car companies that not only haven't produced a car.
No, they both have, and Lucid actually recently announced like delivery dates of cars.
Okay.
Rivian has delivered about 100 cars, but they're all to employees.
Yeah, they haven't sold anything to the public yet.
Yeah, less than $1 million in revenue this year.
And they're worth $100 billion?
Yep. It's pretty dope.
So how does something like that happen?
It's backed by Bezos for one. They have working prototypes. They have.
I remember when a company wouldn't be worth shit till you had sales.
Yeah, what a day that
Pepperidge
was.
Farm remembers that.
What a day that was. It's gone.
Wow.
I think Rivian's been around for a while. They've been, I guess, I don't know exactly what stage they're on. I'm assuming working on mass production, because obviously they've got prototypes rolled out. They've been in the market. I guess they've existed for a while. I remember seeing images and not ads, but I saw images and articles about their vehicles.
Are they nice looking?
Like 5 years ago. Yeah, they're fucking awesome. I think they look better than the Tesla.
Okay.
They have a truck and a full-size SUV. That's like truck-size SUV. Those are two.
Hit me up when you have a fucking electric cargo van.
Right.
That's what I've been saying.
Yeah, so that's their front line, which I think is awesome. They started with the truck.
Because they don't want to compete with Tesla, probably.
Right, and then Tesla came out with a Cybertruck, but the Cybertruck's like not a truck.
The Cybertruck's its own. You got to be a special kind of person to get
the
Cybertruck.
The Rivian truck looks closer to the modern trucks of today.
Yeah.
With a twist, but it has that boxy, very masculine look, very classic, but also modern with like the big LED strip across the front, and it's got amazing storage because obviously it doesn't have drive shaft and exhaust and all that stuff, so it's got cool storage and different things that it can show off. And yeah, it looks super sweet as far as tech goes. It's something I 100% would drive and would prefer over the Cybertruck.
You remember this fucking who's making it? I sent it in the group chat. The fucking 80s looking car.
Oh,
it's an EV.
Hyundai,
yeah, is producing this. It's
the El Presidente.
Yeah,
what it's called.
So they took one of their cars from the 80s.
It's a Japanese car category that virtually doesn't exist here. It's like their version of
saloons.
Of
those
like
big
Lincoln saloon cars.
Yeah.
I forget exactly what they're called. I think they might be. No, they're not salon. They're not saloon. Salon cars are like the fucking Fast and Furious cars with the underglow and TV screens and shit. What is it? But basically they're like boxy, and they're meant to almost be like a limousine. So you have like little tables and trays and cup holders. Like it's meant to be like a limousine type of experience. But they're like these full-size sedans. They're typically really low, really boxy. Just think you're
it looks
1980s.
Looks like an 80s Cadillac or Lincoln or whatever.
Mercedes. Probably more so, yeah. If you envision like a big blocky 1980s Mercedes.
But it's going to be electric.
Yeah.
That's the cool part.
It's gonna look exactly super vintage.
The quote I saw from like the guy that designed it was like, yeah, we're now coming back around where we don't have to give a shit about
aerodynamics
because we don't have to give a shit about emissions regulations.
Oh, that's genius. I love that idea that we're just gonna get back into ridiculous cars that are like massive and clunky and weird.
We were making these giant ridiculous cars that were just giant and comfortable and like virtually impossible to hurt yourself in. Like I remember, like I used to drive a 1979 Ford Thunderbird, and I backed into a fucking pole at like 50, and the pole broke. Yeah. And the car wasn't even dented, like because my frame came up over the bumper. The frame of the vehicle would hit shit before the bumper did.
Yeah,
like the thing was a tank, literally.
I think it's a good idea to design your car so if you hit the bridge breaks.
Or nothing breaks. The other guy breaks.
I was going to say you break.
The other guy breaks.
No, the issue with those cars, obviously, won't get into the semantics of engineering, but because they were built so strong when they did break, it was you're dead.
Sure, but that works for me.
They invented crumple zones for a reason.
I'd rather be dead than paralyzed.
It's more like you'd rather be dead than have a broken nose, but sure.
True. I'd rather be dead than alive at this point.
I'd rather be dead than not drive this dope-ass car.
Anyway, but then these fucking the EPA, these guys come up with this thing called emissions tests where your car had to put out less emissions. So they invented the
Dodge Viper
catalytic converter, and what's the engine called? Carburetor?
Fuel injected.
Carburetor?
That's what they went away from.
Yeah, I had a carburetor.
Yeah.
Because I remember when
And it smelled like it, I'm sure.
my car had electrical problems.
Yeah.
So I'd just spray quick start in the carburetor.
Yep.
And it would explode, literally, and start the car.
Yeah.
Man.
It's
awesome. Anyway.
And now, like, cars get cold and need to be put on a flatbed.
True. Anyway, but we had to build small, and then that's when like the age, cars started to get smaller, more plastic, lighter.
Yeah.
And then Priuses, whatever. And as we've gotten, that was like the 90s, early 2000s. But now I've noticed in the last like 5-10 years, I think, as our engines are getting more fuel efficient, like we're just getting better at the technology, vehicles have been like SUVs became popular.
Yes.
I've never fucking seen an SUV before 2010.
Yeah, crossovers took over cars.
Yeah, because we could get bigger again. And those are more practical, like.
Yeah.
And now, if it's electric, you can just be like, fuck aerodynamics. I don't need to be fuel efficient. It's fucking electric.
I like it. I like this a lot.
I like this too. Yeah. We're
Like
going to go back to the age of fucking giant cars.
The Rivian SUV looks like a Cadillac Escalade, like that shape.
Yeah. Okay, but let's get back into this company that hasn't produced any cars is worth $100 billion. Do you think if take Elon Musk out on a date?
Yep.
And so it's a world without Elon Musk. Is Rivian worth $100 billion?
No.
Even though they have nothing to do with each other. I think that the street, being the people that buy stocks, are overvaluing Rivian because they saw how Tesla was such an outlier.
Tesla went to the moon, so
do you remember?
And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I remember when Tesla, when he went through all the shit where he got like removed from his own board and he was almost going to go to jail.
Yeah.
He got the largest fine ever handed out by the FCC, I think. FTC.
SEC.
For trading or for saying that he was going to take it private at 420.69.
God, what a mistake that would have been.
And for those of you who don't know, when you're a public company, you're publicly traded, people can just buy your part of your company. And you can, in theory, take it private again by buying every single share back from the public, and then you can basically take yourself off the stock exchange and make yourself private again.
Yeah.
And there's giant companies that do that all the time.
Yep.
And
there's a good number
for different reasons.
Yeah, there's some companies that have like gone private for whatever reason because they're like, oh, this next phase of growth we're going for is going to kill our stock, but it's going to be really good for us in the long run. So they'll take their company private. They'll they'll approach a bank or private equity firm, whatever.
Yeah, you need a lot of goddamn money to buy all your shares back.
Yes, they bought all their shares back. They went private. They restructured. Rebuilt for like 5 years. Took it public again at like 10x the original valuation.
Yeah. And Elon said he was going to do that. But people thought he may have been trying to stock manipulate.
Right.
Because he just tweeted that stock crashed. He bought a bunch of stock back. And then it went up in value and he made billions.
Right.
And they're like, that's literally stock manipulation. He said, no, I was just taking a bunch of Ambien. I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing. There was no plan. And
which is believable.
They settled somewhere in the middle where they were gonna make it so he could never sit on the board of a publicly traded company again.
Yeah.
And they settled just by taking him off Tesla's board and fining him. And like no jail time, I think no admission of guilt, which is big for these people.
Yes.
Because if you ever get a guilty charge for like any stock manipulation, very difficult to work like to if you have a company that's trying to go public, they won't let you if you've been like convicted of a stock manipulation before. So anyway, so that all happened at 420.69. I was gonna buy the dip And then I thought to myself, you know what? I think Tesla's probably capped out. And it's at fucking $1,300 a share right now.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ.
And that's after the split, too.
Oh, yeah, there was a split, wasn't there?
Yeah, so my guy, whatever, new coworker, whatever guy we just hired, he has a friend. This is actually a sad story.
Oh, I'll prepare myself.
Yeah, sad story warning, trigger warning. So this guy...
The dog doesn't die at the end, does it?
It's worse. So guy buys a bunch of Tesla stock, like, early.
Okay.
Like, under $100, I think.
Okay. The guy that's working for you?
No, his friend.
Okay.
And goes up. Stock splits.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the fucking moon.
Yeah.
His stake was worth over $500,000.
Okay.
And so the guy quits his job.
Of course. As one does.
And then whatever liquidated some of the stock is like just kind of playing the markets and was just having a fucking great time.
This is a fun story. I like this story.
It's a bull market, right?
It is right now.
Yeah, guy's sitting at home, trading stocks, doing nothing. It's in the pandemic. He's not going out. Totally isolated, except for, occasionally talking to his friends. Then he apparently he's drinking heavily.
As one does.
Like,
we're no stranger to that on this podcast.
Right, like a bottle a day or more.
It's what I drink.
And then all of a sudden one day he stopped responding to all his friends, and his landlord found him dead on his living room floor.
Of what?
With a bottle in his hand. Just drank himself to death.
Wow.
He's like 26.
That's fucking wild that young.
Yep.
You know how much fucking alcohol you have to drink to kill yourself at 26?
Yeah, just like got alcohol poisoning, passed out.
Wow.
Yep.
That is not as sad as dogs dying, but I can see why you think that's sad.
It's pretty sad.
What happened to his stock portfolio?
Probably went to his mom.
She's single? He's 26.
Now she is, yeah.
He's only 26, so she's probably, what, in her 40s?
Yeah, that's in striking range, Willows.
That's in. Remember what my friend Mitch yesterday said? I forgot, we were talking about MILFs for some reason. And Mitch was like, Willows, I thought you were into MILFs. I'm like, no, I'm into cougars. It's different.
Is it?
Yeah, MILFs have kids. Cougars do not.
Is that the differentiating factor?
It's the differentiating factor in my head.
Okay, that's fair.
I like older women without kids. Because then they treat you like their kid, and they give you, like, snacks.
I think that happens no matter what.
You sleep over their house, and you wake up, and they're like, I packed you a doggy bag.
I think that happens
and you're
no
like,
matter what.
Bruh.
Thank.
Like, wipe your face for you?
After what?
I have, like, chocolate on my beard or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
What did you think I was going to say?
I don't know. It's really gross, Willis.
What?
Now I'm thinking about it.
You know what? Let's just power through. We're going to transition here into the segment of the show that we call Shot Caller, the part of the show where you, the audience, can pick the shot that we take. Today, we're going back to an old favorite, the Barstool Sports, which is something, actually, now that I think about it, I want to talk about after this. The Pink Whitney, New Amsterdam. So thank you, Pink Whitney, for sponsoring this video. Sorry, I kind of overpoured. I overpoured mine too to match, don't worry.
Overpoured, I'm sorry. I didn't think I'd hear those words out of your fucking mouth.
And you should be apologizing to me. The founder, CEO of Barstool Sports is kind of in some hot water right now.
Oh, do tell.
He raped somebody.
Ooh, that's
pretty
hot.
He allegedly had some sort of sexual misconduct. Alleged. And then that's not the exciting part of the story. That if it was just that, I wouldn't be talking about it. I don't care, because that shit happens all the time. But what's funny? So he has like these pizzas, I guess, these frozen pizzas.
Oh, like Barstool branded?
Yeah, like there he
I thought you
has.
just meant him personally. I'm
Yeah,
like,
he
that's
so
not that
so,
interesting.
Okay, so he has like this room full of pizzas, right?
So this guy,
He just has 70,000 pizzas
he's
in his
got the
home,
gabagoo.
and they're rotting. The gabagoo. Anyway, so he has a brand of pizzas, of frozen pizzas. So all these celebrities or whatever, like right wing celebrities that were defending him, were posting videos of them buying all his pizzas from local stores
Nice.
to like support him. Right?
Sure, of course.
Um.
Everyone slips up and rapes once in a while.
Yeah. No. So is this like is this some wild internet content where these like right-wing senators were like buying a bunch of frozen pizza
And posting about
and
it.
posting, and it was just this weird, and like I think like Dana White's like from UFC fame is like
Mhm.
was like with him like sampling these pizzas to like people in stores and shit. It's like a whole thing. But they don't look good is the thing. These frozen pizzas.
Yeah, they just look like some Delicio shit.
Like worse. Like I saw them
Nice.
like on the table like made, and they like didn't look good.
Yeah. Okay, so is that like the extent of the story? Is it just like an allegation at this point?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay.
I was focused on the pizza thing.
Yeah, don't cancel Pizza Man.
No, it's all alleged. He's kind of a dick as far as I know, but that's kind of his brand.
Sure.
He like union busts all the time. Like he like if you join a union, he fires you.
I mean, you're against this?
No, I'm just reporting the news. I'm not taking a fucking.
I was gonna say we've had some hot takes on unions in the last few days there, Willows.
No, I'm not anti-union.
Yeah, I know. You just have trolls.
Yeah, no, I'm not anti-union. I think unions are capitalism. Like if if the free market wants to organize, then I'd say they're free to go. They're free to do that.
Yeah.
Where I start having trouble is mandated unions and unions that have a lot of lobbying power with the government.
Yeah, unions can get extremely big.
Well, and
powerful. Like
they're like our unions here can get like good example is the government run liquor stores in this province. They can get away with stuff that I can't because their union is so big.
Right.
And I would get my liquor license pulled for half the shit they do. Like they just straight up break liquor law all the time. And when I bring it up to the regulators, they're like, "Yeah, we know, we can't really do anything." So that shit like that pisses me off, right? But as far as like, I mean, you're free to associate with anyone else, and if you want to put your power together and bargain, like I think that's capitalism, in my opinion. I have no problems with unions.
Yeah, collective bargaining is, that's 100%. I think within the ethics and within the boundaries of libertarianism too.
Yeah, I have no problem with unions as a concept.
It's an extremely libertarian idea.
Free association and I would agree. And I have no problem with it morally.
Most freedoms that you enjoy today, you probably owe to a union.
Yeah, I have.
And the unions used to have machine guns. And mortars. And they would fight the Pinkertons. And you're welcome, I guess.
Yeah. I don't really have any moral. There's a lot of like. That's why I'm done with politics.
Speaking of done with politics.
Yeah.
Josh Mandel, who is done with politics.
I don't know who this is.
This is the post that I sent to the group chat like a few hours ago.
Okay. Out on my phone.
I just think it's funny. It's not incredibly relevant to like anything, but so this motherfucker Josh Mandel, who's a former treasurer of the state of Ohio.
Sure.
Like I think he was treasurer 2011 till 2019. I actually did my research this time. You're welcome. Trying to get better at that. He makes this tweet. Make of this as you will.
Okay.
Liberal Jews. Good opener.
Okay, good, great opener. I like it.
Liberal Jews and radical Muslims are irrelevant to our campaign. Full stop.
Would that make more sense to me if I had context?
Next sentence.
Okay.
Evangelical Christians, Jewish conservatives, so he brings the Jews back,
Yeah.
and devout Catholics are in our army.
Okay. All right.
So the liberal Jews get fucked.
So the liberal Jews are going to fight the conservative Jews.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm with you so far.
And the conservative Christians and the Catholics, and they're all going to fight the Muslims.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, because Jews and Muslims fight other Jews and Christians.
Yeah, of course. Often.
Routinely.
Yeah. Especially in Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it myself.
Yeah. Oh, no, I've been there.
It's not
it was a bloodbath.
It's not like half the state is black. Like no mention, no mention of the black.
Well,
community.
this is just not
like Jews, evangelicals, Catholics, and Muslims. Like, I cannot name a Jew I met in Ohio, a Muslim. I met Christian conservatives, but they were all black.
You spent a lot of time in Ohio. You had
this guy's from Cleveland.
Yeah, you had a real estate company in Cleveland for like a year.
Yeah.
You spent a lot of time there.
Yeah.
So you know why he was gonna put black people in the tweet, but he couldn't remember the phrase black people. He was trying to call them something else, and his secretary was like, "No, you cannot tweet that."
What I was gonna say is this guy just put Jewish. Like, if you open the post with liberal Jews, like this dude just said Jew with a hard N.
Okay,
that was the first thing that popped into my head. This guy
yeah.
just said Jew with a hard N.
With a hard R, you mean?
Yeah.
You don't say the N. You don't say the N word by not saying the N but saying the ER.
Yeah. No. It's a hard R. Sorry. Said Jew with a hard R.
With a hard W. That's actually fun fact. That's what they call me right now.
Hard W.
Hard W.
I've heard that actually on the street around.
On the street. Yeah. Word.
Fucking liberal Jew with a hard R.
Man, I wish I had a hard R, if we're being honest.
Like,
you kind of give me a hard R sometimes. And I hope I give you a hard W.
Yes. I just enjoy that I can read through my news headlines and I can't tell you if it was like the Beaverton, which is like the Canadian Onion.
The Canadian Onion,
or the Onion, or if it's like...
Yeah, well, I always say that. It's
it's fucking Al Jazeera. Like,
I've been talking about the simulation falling apart, right? Like, I literally cannot tell when stuff is parody anymore.
You know, there's 4 states now. So this is since the Trump election. People are like, oh, wow, we got Biden in office.
Which one?
It's fine.
2021 or 2019 or 2024? Which time he was elected?
I'm talking about 21.
Okay, cool.
When he was illegitimately thrown out of office when they didn't hang Mike Pence.
Sidebar, they convicted the QAnon shaman today.
Nice.
5.5 years in prison.
That's not enough.
Which is it's the largest anyone who stormed the Capitol got so far.
Well, maybe they're on no-fly lists. I don't know. Probably not. There's probably no consequences. It's fine.
Anyway, sorry.
I got 2 thoughts in my head. So I got to get this one out first. So Michael, there's a recent tell-all, whatever, the interview or book, or I'm not sure what it was. Someone that in the government I don't know what position he was in. Anyways, Michael Flynn calls this guy, and Michael Flynn, being the general that was under Trump, calls this guy and is screaming about how they need to get the military to seize the ballots and overturn the election.
I agree with that.
And
I think it was stolen.
This was like before this, like all this shit, like it was like, I think it was like around election night.
Okay.
So before the stop, the big stop the steal, the big lie, the big fail, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Well, there's drug dealers with ballots in their cars.
Yeah. He wasn't stealing Social Security checks. He wanted the ballots.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is this still going on in your story? I have another story.
But yeah, anyway, so that there's considerable evidence that's mounting that, like, obviously this administration had their hands in the January 6th failed insurrection. Like, they wanted it to happen, 100%.
Oh, yeah, of course.
They really wanted that shit to happen. They just...
You know what I don't get?
They failed to execute. But they were very fucking close.
You know what I don't get? The ACAB people like all cops are bastards people, that are like, we need to convict these rioters for killing Capitol Police. Why? Fuck them. Fuck that cop. That cop that got killed? Fuck him.
I'll be just protecting the illegitimate capital under a false president.
I literally, whenever a politician's scared, I'm a happy guy.
True.
We're on a fucking list.
We're just a bunch of accelerations.
Dude, we're on a fucking list.
That's fine.
So we willingly put this out there.
Why?
Every week.
Why?
Why? Who gives a shit?
So that was...
It's a fucking simulation.
Yeah, so that was issue 1. Second issue is the John Lewis Voting Rights Act is a major thing that the Democrats like.
Oh, is that from Lewis and Clark?
Yeah. Basically, it would be a federal mandate for, like, this is the minimum standard for voting rights, and, like, minimum standard for, like, redistricting has to be nonpartisan. It has to be actually representative of the populations that exist there. So, like, gerrymandering is it's going to hit probably, like, I think the redistricting happens next year. And once that happens, like, the Republican victory is basically all but guaranteed for at least a decade. Like, control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency is virtually guaranteed. So they have, 12 to 18 months to actually implement a federal act that would, go figure, in the world's proudest democracy. I don't say best.
Quotations.
I don't say best. I said world's proudest.
In quotations. Yeah.
They are the fucking proudest.
Shh, pride cometh before the fall.
World proudest, air quotes, democracy.
Yeah, world's proudest boys.
Yeah. Boys. Scouts.
Want to make a business. Okay. I'm going to start with the name and we're going to go backwards. Proud Boys, but BOI.
I see a lot of...
We only have white animals.
I would say...
It's okay, yeah.
My mind
It's a sanctuary for polar bears called Proud Boys.
My mind went to Magic Mike.
Who?
Proud Boys.
Is that the guy from
the male strippers?
Oh, sorry. I thought I was thinking the AIDS guy, the basketball guy.
No.
Magic Johnson.
Oh, isn't that fitting? Anyways, there's 5 states. These are all pretty key states in terms of number of seats and whatever. They have passed voter restriction laws that are, very, very blatantly targeted towards non-white people.
If we're being honest,
non-white urban people.
People should be restricted to vote. People are fucking dumb.
But on the lines I disagree with. So
I think
they've done that.
You should be a landowner.
In addition to, they have now given the state the authority to basically disagree with the election results and say, I don't think that's legitimate. I know, because it's an electoral college, right?
Yeah.
They can say, I know that you said this, but we disagree and we're going to vote this way instead.
Yeah.
They've legalized that.
Good.
In 5 states.
Good. Let's have some fucking chaos.
Because they're not even pretending to be a fucking democracy at this point. So it's not only are they gerrymandering the ever-living fuck out of it.
It's actually not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. Exactly.
So they've gerrymandered the ever-living fuck out of it. And then on top of that, they're going to redistrict the shit out of it. So they repress the vote. You redistrict the vote. And then if the vote still loses, they can overturn it.
I love it.
It's fucking solid leadership.
Here's all
and
my
good governance. Here's where I'm going.
Here's
with
my
this.
opinion: is that if you are about to introduce a law, or if you're excited for your politician introducing the law, just imagine if the other side was using that law against you.
100%.
If you're pissed off, then don't pass the law.
Yeah.
Right. So here's a story I heard today or yesterday that I thought was really interesting. So, unlike America, who only got a single $1,200 check for their stimulus, many
not entirely true. There was EI top-ups and stuff.
Many Canadians, I think like 60% of Canadians got $2,000 a month for like nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
In the form of CERB, Canadian Emergency Response Benefits, and CRB, which was something else, Canadian Recovery Benefits. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but people were getting about $2,000 to $1,500 a month while the pandemic was happening. I read organized crime in Canada was able to scam like $100 million out of the government.
Nice.
By stealing people's identities who qualified for CERB but weren't getting it, registering for CERB, and then just collecting the direct deposits or the checks.
Nice. That's a good hustle. That's like Florida.
I love it.
That's like a third of Florida's GDP.
Is fraud, right?
Social security
fraud, yeah.
It's just entrepreneurial.
Well, I want to talk about it more, but I'll just finish the context. So, because if you steal someone's credit card and their identity,
yeah,
and you take out a bunch of credit and you buy a bunch of shit, they're gonna fucking notice. And
eventually,
you might be able to get away with some shit, but they will shut it down. The bank will refund them. Like it's
sometimes
okay, but you're insured for that shit. Whatever.
Yeah.
The smartest way to do it is steal someone's identity and then sign up for like benefits.
Yeah, rather
if
than
they're not
get loans, yeah.
Because if they're not missing anything, they're never going to notice, right?
Yeah.
Like if just a $2,000 check was just going to a different address.
Only difference would be when it comes to tax time, then they figure it out. But
yeah, but then you can probably prove you were frauded.
Right. No, I mean like that's when you get found out. But yeah, you're not quote hurting anybody.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my first question. Is that do you think this is morally wrong?
I think it's morally wrong in the way that like stealing the government's money is just really fucking over the public.
Is it though?
It isn't. It isn't.
I'm a very big.
It doesn't
steal as much as you possibly can from the government.
Right, but
Robin Hood, baby.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with that, but also like I feel like is the optics. I think the optics are almost more important than the act, right?
Well, I don't think organized crime gives a shit about the optics. I'm just asking.
You're asking about the morality.
Well, I'm just asking what your opinion is.
I don't know. If I had the opportunity to make $100 million off of CERB,
you would have.
I would probably be in Panama right now.
That's fair. That's fair. How much money would it take for you to renounce your Canadian citizenship and leave?
It probably wouldn't be an amount of money.
Okay.
It would probably have to be extenuating circumstances, like because it's not that I'm like walking away from Canadian citizenship and the passport and shit would be like me walking away from my family for life, effectively,
yes.
Unless you could fly them to yourself.
Yeah.
So, but you're more or less walking away from your family and your friends and everything that you know for life.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an amount of money that I would take.
That's fair.
But if there was extenuating circumstances and I'm like, I think I just want to fucking leave, I would do it for no money.
Okay. All right.
So I don't know. I think it's a rough question. It's like put a price on family and everything you know.
Yeah.
It's like no.
You could just Skype them probably through a VPN.
That's not problematic.
It's fine. Yeah, I don't know. Canada's like our passport's pretty powerful as far as like what it allows us. We're probably bad people to ask that though. Like entrepreneurial business owners are probably bad people to ask. Like, how much money would it take to just leave everything? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like, oh well, let me start on my next idea.
Well, because I have I mean, like I have a ton of assets here. Like I have businesses and residual income and like a ton of stuff I can't just give up. But like the average person just has like like no assets and like whatever, right?
So speaking of business.
Oh, thank God. This is a business podcast.
That was a really weak segue. But I want to pivot back to the acute issues we're dealing with right now in Manitoba.
We're dealing with cute
Canada.
issues?
Yeah, very cute.
I love cute.
The flooding.
Yes.
That is not at all related to or relevant to climate change. Doomsday.
Yeah, I think everyone is agreeing that all these landslides and flooding in BC is because of climate change.
Yeah.
That's pretty agreed upon, I think, by the experts at this point.
Yeah, 100%. There's not much.
What I didn't know.
There isn't really any debate around
What
that.
I didn't know, what I posted in the group chat today, that the Fraser Valley, that entire valley, was a lake,
And now it is again.
and they pumped it out. People, colonizers,
Right.
we dammed and made it not a lake. So it's almost like,
Karma.
well, I didn't want to say that, but like I saw something that was like, yeah, well, colonizers are getting fucking like.
It was a lake for a reason.
It is
That's where
what
all
it
the
is.
water goes.
Yeah, it's like, the fucking, if we gave the land back to the natives, they wouldn't have made it a fucking lake or a valley, right? Like,
Here's a thought experiment. Not a thought experiment. This is a real life motherfucking experiment. Take a bucket of water. Go out, do your driveway, and take 2 buckets of water. Actually, this will save you time.
where am I gonna get 2 buckets?
Ask your mom. Dump 1 bucket down your driveway. See how much gets to the bottom. And like on the curb, whatever, how much gets in the gutter. Take that next bucket and dump it on your lawn right next to your driveway, and look how much gets onto the curb.
You want to save us some time and just tell us what the result of this is?
If you build highways and cities and infrastructure on wetlands, which, are wet because they absorb,
Wow, it's in the name.
right, rainfall, floods, water. So you destroy all of that. You replace it with concrete. You're gonna get a little bit of running water.
Also, all the vegetation that usually soaks up all the water was burnt away by forest fires this summer,
Right. Yeah.
which apparently exasperated it.
Our friend is explaining how like the roots like perforate from the soil into the clay layer
Yeah.
and allow the water to penetrate down. But now that those root systems are dying or dead, the water just sits on top of the clay, saturates the mud, and then the mud just slips over the layer of clay, and that's how you get these mudslides.
So it's funny that there's always, maybe not climate change deniers, but people that believe in climate change that say we can't make any radical changes to the, stop oil production, etc., because it will hurt the economy too much.
Yeah.
Right? There's those middle people that don't deny it, but they're saying, no, fuck you. We can't just get rid of cars. We can't just get rid of oil. We're going to fucking whatever, right? It'll cost too much. The highway that just got washed away took them $1 billion in 2 years to build.
And it got washed away in 48 hours.
Well, now the province of British Columbia is like, we don't have enough money to fix it.
Yeah.
Like, they have to get federal help to fix it.
And the time is
And
insane.
the time.
And
Of
now
course. We're cut off from the port of
Yeah,
Vancouver,
and-
which like 60% of
right.
fucking trade comes through that port.
Yeah, so if you're not Canadian, for reference, we basically, all of our country exists along the U.S. border, basically. Like
Yeah.
our civilization is-
95% of our population is within 200 kilometers of the U.S. border.
So Canada's basically a straight line, left to right, east to west.
Yeah.
We have
7,000 kilometer straight line, but
yeah, very, very fucking big.
yeah.
And we get supplies in from either the left side, Vancouver, that comes in from China and the Asia Pacific at large, Australia, you name it, which, I mean, name a few things made in the Asia Pacific. And then there is on, I guess, right side, not all the way on the right. We
The
have
right center,
the furthest inland port in the world, right?
I think, no, at least in North America, is in Montreal.
Yeah, it's the St. Lawrence River, so you can go all the way from the ocean all the way inland, and the port of Montreal is where all the rest of the goods come in.
Yeah, a
And-
little bit from like Halifax, but
And if you're looking at a map, you're like, oh, what about all the, the bays and tributaries and rivers and whatever from the north? It's like, yes, we have Hudson's Bay,
yeah,
which we can bring stuff into Manitoba, but there aren't even any highways from that port
Yeah.
to the capital city of the same province.
yeah. There's no road.
It's ice roads.
Yeah,
Like if
there's
you see-
not. Well, and
If you've seen the Liam Neeson movie recently, or like the TV shows, like
ice road truckers.
Yeah, the only time they can move shit is over the frozen lakes in the wintertime.
Well, and we used to have a train going there. We don't anymore because it wasn't making any money.
Yeah.
And then one of the tracks broke, and they're just like, yeah, we just don't have enough money to fix it, and they just haven't, and we just don't have a train anymore.
Yeah, so small charter flights is all you've got. So it's
What is
virtually
this straight up there
unusable.
called?
The what?
The Bering Strait, is
Yeah,
that the
Bering
one?
Strait, yeah.
Up north?
Yeah.
Which took, I think it was Bering was the guy, some like explorer had to go through with like a fucking wooden ship.
Yeah, through
like
the ice.
through the ice to map all these fucking giant icebergs and shit to make sure you could get through. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they did that till like after World War II or something. Like it was like way too fucking late. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a little bit earlier than that, but I think it was like way later than the rest of Canada was like figured out.
Yeah.
We like didn't have that figured out.
Well, Canada's like not very old.
We're 152 years old.
Right. So it couldn't have been that much before the World Wars.
That's right.
But, yeah, our infrastructure is basically fucked. So,
we're fucked.
So if you anything coming in from the Asia Pacific, which China, Thailand, Japan, places where they make things, where most of your Christmas gifts are probably coming from, manufactured
Unless
goods.
you shop local.
Or shop Europe.
No, shop local.
No, shop Europe.
No, shop local.
Okay.
Thank you.
Shop local. Unfortunately, some of the local shit, their supplies come from overseas.
Oh yeah, my
Bottles
and my labels. No, my labels don't. But probably the paper that the labels are printed on probably does come from China.
No, it's probably in Canada. Pulp. We got pulp. No, we probably send the pulp to China and we get the labels back.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's how global supply chains
Oh
are
man,
efficient.
if this doesn't get fixed soon, I'm fucked.
Yeah,
I'm going bankrupt.
So what they're proposing is like bonded shipping, basically, where you can push goods over the border.
Oh yeah, because the only highway that is still connected is the one that go through the United States.
Which obviously many highways, but they would have to push south into the States and then back up into Alberta, because like that entire lower section of BC is just fucked and not gonna be fixed anytime soon. So all of our goods are gonna have to go through the States and back up, and COVID restrictions at the border. Obviously, I mean that recently was changed, but not great. If you're a courier, it's different. Like if you're a certified shipping company, but now you have to deal with bonded shipping. You got to get a license for bonded shipping.
Bondage shipping?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like.
I didn't know you were into that.
I am. So very fucking complicated. Just to keep the country going. So things are going to get more expensive. Stuff's going to be delayed. And the way shipping lanes and everything are right now, you throw one monkey wrench into this motherfucker, like it's going to make
it's wild how tumultuous
tenuous
of a situation we are in, that like one domino can just fuck up the entire society we have.
It's always been like that.
And they're saying, people in BC, like our friend JL, who's been on this podcast, was saying that like the people there are like, oh, this is like a 1 in 20 year disaster. It happens maybe 1 in every 20 years. But now it's happening. 2 have happened this year. Like it was the fires and now this.
It was 1 in 150 year.
Wow. And now it's probably happening
Annually.
Yeah.
No, it's 1 in 150 year based on the old models. But on current models, like the heat wave and actually one of the affected places was Lytton, which was, I mean, it would have been worse, but the fact that it already completely burnt down, there wasn't really any fatalities.
I don't think anyone's died yet, right?
No, there's a fatality.
Ugh,
at least one.
Shame.
I think there's multiple, but I heard
I know
at least one today.
people were trapped on the highway because the highway on both sides of them was just washed away.
Yes,
they were trapped in their cars for 24 hours.
Yeah, they had military special forces basically evacuating them.
Yeah, like rope ladder from the fucking helicopter, like grab them.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Fucking wild.
So Lytton, BC, which
is that ladder on like a ratchet?
It's a winch, like a pulley.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like
yeah,
it ratchets up and then pulls you back up.
Well, it's not a ratchet; it's a motor. But yeah, it's fine. I get what you're saying.
Okay,
you're wrong, but I get it.
Okay, I don't know.
You're not. What do you mean you're not an engineer?
The only time I ever go on one of those is in Call of Duty.
When you have to.
I feel like there's every single shooter game in the world has one mission where you're like getting shot and you're like injured, and then you have to carry the other guy, and then right at the last second there's a rope ladder comes from a helicopter.
Yep.
I feel like I've played like 40 games with that in.
It's a good plot line. So these cities, and they are cities, they're completely underwater. Like they were evacuated 6 months ago. Some of them for fires.
Yeah.
And one of them just completely burnt down in a day, and now they're dealing with the flooding.
Yeah.
And it's once in 150-year flooding. It should have been snow. So it was 30 centimeters of rain in 48 hours.
Yeah, which would have been snow normally this time of year, but because it's been so hot.
And that's in the same year as a drought.
And there's people there living it that are still like, the fucking liberals are trying to use this disaster to push climate change bullshit on us.
Which I love. That's amazing.
We're all gonna fucking die.
It's mental gymnastics.
Like we are not a species meant to last. I know I say this every week, but this is ridiculous that you can live the result. Well, just like the fucking people that are getting COVID and then still deny COVID.
Yeah.
Like you're living through natural disasters caused by climate change, and you're like, and then when people are like, that's climate change, you're like, these fucking liberals are using a disaster to push climate change on us.
Although I do agree with them in the sense where they're using this to push their agenda, which 100% they are.
Just like these fucking liberals.
And I'll agree with them because they aren't actually doing anything about climate change. They're just using it to posture, to say
that's fair.
They're marginally better than the other guys. So they are using it illegitimately to further their goals for power.
It's just like these fucking...
And do nothing about climate. But my beef is because they're doing nothing about climate change.
Just like these fucking Democrats that fake school shootings just to push their anti-gun agenda.
Yeah, all those school shootings.
Imagine if they banned guns because of that fake Sandy Hook shooting, Kyle Rittenhouse, the hero, might not have been able to defend himself against 3 unarmed people.
No, one of them was armed.
Oh, yeah. How's that going?
He shot him once in the groin, once in the hand, once in the back, and once in the head.
No, I mean the trial.
Oh.
Last I heard, he was able to pick his jury.
Yeah, he was able to pick his juror alternates, which is typically done by the court.
Why did they let the 17-year-old kid pick his juror alternates?
That's like one of, I think, 7 or 8 major biased decisions that the judge made before the trial even started.
See that picture of the lawyer with the gun?
No.
Oh man, the lawyer has the AR-15 that he used in court.
Yeah.
And he's pointing it at people. It's obviously unloaded, but because I don't know, I wasn't watching.
Are you trying to bring down the temperature of the situation or how scary a fucking gun like that is?
Well, I don't know what he was doing. I just saw the pictures, but I think he was trying to demonstrate, right? What happened or whatever. But it's weird. Why does America let cameras in courts, but Canada doesn't?
America allows it.
America's fucked is kind of the answer to everything, I think.
No, I think Ted Bundy was one of the first times they allowed cameras in court.
O.J. Simpson?
Ted Bundy's
60s?
Before that, yeah. It's these major publicized trials they see as for public good for everyone to know about.
Yeah.
And it's not always allowed in. You have to ask, basically.
Cameras.
Yeah.
Because they live streamed the fucking O.J. Simpson one.
Yeah.
That was live on the fucking... if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit.
I want to get back on this thread of the world ending.
You're so depressing all the time.
No. You're coming to a kind of nice conclusion to this whole discussion we've had today.
Were we?
People denying climate change, even though it's literally smacking them in the face.
Yeah.
You can't deny that this is incredibly consequential. So actually, right before I came here, my girlfriend Carly was telling me that she was talking to one of her friends about it, and her friend's boyfriend is from BC, and his family just lost everything. Yeah. Their house is gone.
Yeah.
Their house is gone. Everything they own is gone. Their town is gone. Their neighborhood is gone. Fucking everything's gone.
Yeah.
They're in Abbotsford.
Yeah.
So, they're fucking devastated. At some point, the cost of inaction or the cost of ignorance is going to be so high, it's just not tenable anymore. Like you're going to have to be a fucking lunatic to not believe in climate change and to say we have to keep driving cars. We have to keep burning coal for energy. We need to keep doing X, Y, Z. We can't change this because it's whatever. Like, there's a certain point where that scale is going to tip, and anyone that says, we can't fix this because of X, Y, Z is going to be on the lunatic side.
I don't know.
It's going to happen. It's
I don't
inevitable.
know, because at least the Canadian climate change, because like,
and we're relatively speaking to the rest of the world, we're in a pretty good fucking spot.
Canada.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. Like, we're pretty golden.
So at least the Canadian climate change people I've met and heard from don't deny the climate is changing, but deny that humans are the main cause of it. Like, the argument is the world has cycles. We have ice ages, we have hot periods. And the hot period that we are going into right now, the carbon levels that are increasing in the atmosphere right now are pretty on par with this cycle that's happened for 6 billion years.
Sure.
That's like, because a lot of the...
Do they also accept that we have an inevitable extinction event coming as well?
I'm not sure.
Because
probably depends who you talk to.
The Earth has had what? We're on this would be the sixth
or seven major extinction event, yeah.
Yeah, so by that argument, it's worse?
I want to say that I probably do believe there is an extinction event coming, but I think humans are the most resilient animal that has ever been created on Earth.
I would comment and say I don't believe extinction's on the table.
You think we'll figure it out?
Yeah, some portion.
As a species.
As a species.
Yeah.
But the world you know today will not exist.
Yeah, well, of course.
Like, you're talking about hundreds of millions of people dying on an annual basis from climate disasters because they're going to hit in such complex ways you can't even understand. It's going to be people dying of starvation, people dying of, freezing to death in their homes because the power went out. It's going to be a war of attrition, and we just can't fight it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, it'd be nice if it was some big doomsday clock, and every time we did good things to the environment, we bought ourselves more time, right? But it's like this kind of, it's not going to be a nuclear explosion. It's going to be exactly what you're saying.
It's going to
attrition.
It's going to be it's going to be a death of 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
And it's going to be it'll reshape things, but it'll do it slowly.
Death of 1,000 cuts, aka bondage shipping.
So, on that note, I think we're in one of these moments where, people in 50 years will look back and be like, how fucking stupid were you? Like, the same way we look at
slavery,
the same way we look at the rise of the Nazis, the same way we look at, the Cold War and the Vietnam War and the Banana Wars.
You know what's funny?
Who else did America genocide?
You'd be faster to name the countries they didn't genocide.
I can't.
You know what's interesting?
Canada. Wait.
This just made me think of it when you said Nazis. Is that there's been a lot of comparisons from right-wing lunatics about COVID restrictions to Nazism.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, if you obey COVID restrictions, you would have let them kill all the Jews. Like, I'm not saying that's my opinion, obviously.
Yeah,
that's the opinion of people I've seen, some right-wing talking pieces. And that's kind of interesting, is like the whole Albert Einstein, like, all that it takes for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Same idea with climate, is that we're being destroyed by the U.S. military and 6 oil companies.
Right.
And 7.8, I think, now billion people, like we're coming up on 8 billion pretty quick, in the world, don't do anything. Because whatever.
We are too busy staying alive.
Yeah.
Drinking and podcasting about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Like, I mean, literally, if the U.S. military disbanded, that would buy us another, like, 80 years. That would almost, like, reverse it. Almost.
Yeah, but in exchange, we
have a global thermonuclear war.
Yeah, would the global security crisis end sooner?
So here's what I'm going to say. Maybe, you know how, like, you got to be pretty naive to think that SpaceX and Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic aren't going to have military applications.
Right.
I think you got to be kind of naive. Like, I want to think, like, I'm a pretty big Elon Musk fan, for the record. And I like to think that the military would be like, hey, we're going to give you a ton of money, make us rockets, or make us, like, space weapons. And Elon's going to be like, I don't really give a shit. I'm going to go talk about Dogecoin, right? I like to think that.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be pretty naive. Just like, I remember Boston Dynamics, the robot company. When they started having those robot dogs, Spot, that was like really, it was like, you watch videos from like 5 years ago and you're like, okay. And then you watch videos from like 2 years ago, you're like, oh, they're like getting good at this.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of people were like, these are just going to be military weapons. And people were like, no, they care about, whatever. They're just military weapons.
Yeah, they put guns on them now.
Now they have guns on them. Like, they're just military weapons now, right? Like, you got to be pretty naive to think that these giant rocket companies aren't just going to be the U.S. military making space lasers. But what if someone like Elon Musk was like, okay, I will sell you my space lasers, but you have to change all your fucking AC-130s to electric AC-130s.
From Tesla.
Yeah, like, he makes Tesla, what are those big choppers called? The, like, 2 rudder ones? The war attack ones?
Is Chinook?
I think it's an animal. Am I wrong?
Well, they're common attack helicopters are the Apache and the Black Hawk.
Apache, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Apache is
native
small. It's skinny.
Is it?
Yeah, it's super skinny. The pilots sit one in front of the other, and
yeah,
it's got like
11 kills
missile
on.
pods.
It's 11 kills on. No, it's 9 kills on Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, the double rotor one is a cargo thing.
Okay, whatever. Well, I'm thinking these attack helicopters.
Yeah.
Could those be electric?
Not realistically, but they could be zero carbon.
What's the difference? Sorry.
The fuel they burn.
Oh, could be like water.
Yeah, they could run on different fuel.
Okay.
Like they could run on. I mean, they're pretty close to fucking rocket fuel already, but like they run jet turbines in them.
Yeah, because it's fucking like that's where all our pollution's coming from is shit like that.
Yeah, the big trucks and the ships and the planes,
but like why can't the trucks all be electric?
It's not reliable. You think about it. A lot of these trucks are very simple, rudimentary, and
it's part of your training as an army guy to be able to fix these, right?
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Think about a portable tactical EMP.
Oh, could just fuck up everything.
Neutralize the entire military.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, you can harden things to a certain extent, but like, I mean, they're getting better at that. But like,
yeah. Do you think there's? Okay, like we have to get off combustion engines. We have a finite amount of oil. We're gonna run out.
Combustion engines aren't the fucking problem.
What do you? What is?
Power generation, and like I think like power generation is one of the biggest things.
Like because they're burning coal,
burning oil, burning gas.
Yeah, yeah. But if
that's
you're
massive.
Okay, hold on. If you're
air travel is another big one.
Hold on. If you get EMP'd, your fucking coal plant stops working.
I'm talking like specifically military tactical operations. Like a tactical EMP is like, let's say, like the size of a grenade and has a radius of 100 meters.
Do they have those?
I would be shocked if they didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a sci-fi thing.
No, EMPs are very
No,
practical.
I know, yeah, EMP is, but from my knowledge, EMP stands for electromagnetic pulse.
Yep.
It's when a nuclear bomb goes off. This is kind of less common knowledge, I guess, because when a nuclear bomb goes off, you're worried about the fucking nuclear bomb. But
Yeah.
it also creates an electromagnetic pulse in the atmosphere that just destroys and disables
Everything.
everything electronic.
Yeah. So
What
if,
you can do is detonate bombs in the atmosphere
like 50,000 feet.
so you're not affected by the blast, but it just destroys communications and stuff.
Yeah, you get like a week of fallout, but it would fry everything.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I think I mentioned like the book I read on the podcast where they used like 5 nukes, like relatively small nukes, like much smaller than we have now, detonated them at 50,000 feet and knocked out like 80% of America.
And that's real. EMPs are real. I don't think I've ever heard of a fucking
Small EMP?
small EMP.
Yeah, I mean if you play video games, like they've been
Well,
using
no, I know they're in video games, but
the stuff that's in video games is almost always based on like I'm not talking about like futuristic games. I'm not talking about Halo. I'm talking
Sure.
about like Tom Clancy and like Splinter Cell and
Yeah.
Call of Duty and shit like that. Like some of that stuff
Well, I know
is fantasies, but
Call
a
of
lot
Duty
it's
is like,
pretty practical.
you know, Call of Duty, before they can release a game, the U.S. military has to approve it.
Right. Yeah.
Or
fine.
they're like, don't use U.S. programmers.
Right.
The government's like, because it's a propaganda agent.
Right.
That's all they want is just, fucking wild.
Thanks, Activision.
Literally. Yeah, like, so what's the salute? Like, we're going to run out of oil at some point. We're going to run out of coal at some point.
Maybe stop flexing your military muscles unnecessarily all over the world for some righteous good.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to say let's go back to this is basically like Trump politics, which is hilarious when I agree with the guy, but focus on defense.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now that you've stuck your fingers in all the pies, you can't just take your fingers out of the pies and say the pies are fine. Like, no, now they're finger pies. Like,
That was your nickname in high school.
finger pie?
Yeah.
The CIA's been executing leaders for decades.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
literally hundreds.
Yeah.
Backing militias. Like, they've just been fucking with everyone for so long.
Yep.
Now they need a military for damage control.
Yeah.
Like, there are things that they could do. Like, step 1 would be transparency about what they use and how, like, because there's currently no accountability mechanism
Yeah.
for them, period.
Yeah.
So I think step 1 would be ambiguous disclosure, like
Unambiguous.
no ambiguous, because they're never going to agree to.
They're not gonna. You're not gonna be able to blockchain put their fucking results on the blockchain and everyone be able to access them.
Right, because it would, using smart data, they could you could figure out all the movements of the military.
Yeah.
So, and the size and the scope and the, what they have and what they use, like you could have internal moderation of this. Like, I don't think any of this is fucking feasible, honestly, but ideas that have been floated is like, yeah, you have to create some kind of transparency so the public has to know and understand that they are on the map for creating carbon. They can't just exempt themselves, which they've done.
Yeah.
And you got to realize when there's a COP26 type of summit, like you cannot say U.S. military. You have to say the militaries, the armies, the whatever, like,
because you can't put blame on the United States
because they don't exist when it comes to carbon.
Yeah.
They don't exist. Like, we are so far removed from finding a solution. We're not even acknowledging that there's a problem yet.
So okay. 150 years ago, right? Yeah, about that. Nobody ever thought, like, we there was probably a lot of there was like, how can you possibly ship stuff, over the ocean?
Yeah.
Right? You can't manufacture in other countries and move it over here realistically. It takes months. how can we possibly have a fucking system, of infrastructure in cities if we need rail to get everything? Like, there's no way, right? And then somebody was like, oh, combustion engine, boom, cars, oh, boom, planes, oh, and we just fix those problems,
Yeah,
right?
shipping containers.
Like, I'm sure, like two people like us 150 years ago sat down and like, well, we can never solve that problem. And then somebody came up with something, and then we did. So what I like to hope, and I guess what I'm asking you is,
I'm not saying that
do you think there will ever be some sort of weird breakthrough that no one was expecting? It's like, oh, yeah, I guess we just do it like that now.
I do believe that something like that will come, but I don't have faith in the implementation.
Sure.
I don't have faith in wide adoption because there's no such thing as something for nothing in this space.
Of course, but that's why capitalism does it. Like bear with me. Tesla's made electric cars cool.
Right.
I don't give a shit what you say about Elon Musk. Sure, he's running an apartheid diamond mine, whatever. Priuses weren't even fucking electric. But like those little, no, they were, sorry. I was thinking smart cars are just small cars.
They're just diesel. Yeah, they're diesels.
What the fuck? Okay, like Priuses aren't cool. No one wants to drive them.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what you think about Elon Musk. Teslas are cool.
Yeah.
People like to drive Teslas. And that is making electric cars mainstream. 90% of the people that I know that own Teslas don't give a shit about the environment. They think it's cool, and they like the car, and they don't want to pay more money for gas.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't give a fuck about the long-term in like environmental.
Yeah, that'll be like tertiary.
So here's what I'm saying is that I think something like that, it just needs to be capitalized. Capitalismized.
Yes. So on that note, the legalization or the legitimate, words are hard. Legitimizing a carbon credit system.
Speaking of
globally or internationally,
not being able to speak, I'm going to pour another shot.
A global carbon credit system got a step closer with COP26.
I like the cap and trade as far. So for viewers, listeners that don't know, carbon credits, cap and trade they call it, is a system where when you implement it, it's like a free market regulation of environmental pollution. So right now, what a fully non-free market looks like is just a fucking carbon tax, where you just charge everyone more for using carbon. What cap and trade looks like is, so I want to build a factory that pollutes. So the government goes, yeah, sure, you can build that factory, but you got to pay us 20,000 carbon credits. And you're like, oh, well, I only have 10,000 carbon credits. So you have to build, you're like, okay, I'm going to build 10 solar panels. That's going to give me 100 each carbon credits.
Mm-hmm.
Like for doing good stuff for the environment, you get these basically money, carbon credits, they call it. But how the free market part comes in is that you can buy carbon credits from other companies on the free market. So if there's a green company that's just doing a bunch of green shit and they just have a surplus of carbon credits because they're fucking running 100% a clean operation, they can sell that for cash, make extra money, pad their ballot books, balance book, fucking pay their CEO, and then they're incentivized to do good, to pollute less, to whatever. And a real world example of that working is in Canada, in Toronto. In the 90s, we had an acid rain problem. All the pollution from the factories was making the rain acidic. I'm sure you've heard of acid rain before. Mm-hmm. I think India still has it really bad. Like, I don't think it's not like you walk outside and it hits you and you fucking burn to death, but like it's
acidic water.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Not good. And the city of Toronto implemented a cap and trade system, and it fucking worked, and it fixed it, and they haven't had acid rain since.
I would counter that with the fact that they didn't eliminate the acid rain, or they didn't eliminate the pollution. I'm assuming it was migrated elsewhere,
like to China.
Right.
Sure, but It worked. but that's why what you're saying is that if we could get the entire United Nations to agree on it.
United Nations doesn't even solve the problem. Like, it's not big enough. You don't have global. The United Nations is not the world.
The United Nations 194 member states out of 210 countries.
Right, but you'll have like Russia and China lopped out.
Sure.
And US will say we're exempt.
Sure.
Which is what always happens.
But if they didn't,
and the remaining member states are like, well, if US, China, and Russia don't want to do it, we're not doing it either.
For the record, though, China has gone from like 2% renewables to like 15% renewables in like 5 years.
They're going to do it fast and first.
Because we've talked about this before. China is so, like, America's individualistic.
Yeah.
That's how they were founded. That's how they are. China is, like, if you need to build a highway through someone's farm and you say, sorry, you have to move 1,000 miles from here, they go, yeah, well, it's for the good of China. And they do it. Like, they think very collectively. And that's the reason why they're being like, oh, we're going to run out of oil. Okay, let's go renewable.
Or it's politically beneficial for us to go green.
And they want to get ahead of America. Like,
yeah. If you could, with a single policy, be better economically and with your PR and also politically,
because think about
with one decision, of course, take it.
Think about the United Nations being like, hey, America, look at China. They're doing so good. Like, having everyone else on your side. Because I promise you, when we start having climate wars, which is, I think there's a lot of sci-fi books about, wars that happen because of climate change.
Oh, yeah.
Guess who the EU is going to side with against from America to China if one's a polluter and one's not? Right? Like,
yeah.
Cheers.
And if you look at a map of who's the biggest trading partner with a nation, and you see whose biggest trading partner is America, whose biggest trading partner is China.
Yeah.
And then look at that change over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing. China is slowly eating up the EU.
In what? Oh, like...
in trade.
EU isn't trading to America anymore, they're trading to China? Okay.
And when they get there with energy, it's fucking game over.
Well, imagine being able to sell your surplus energy to Japan, Taiwan,
right,
Korea, like surrounding nations, right?
Right.
Now all of a sudden, if Afghanistan's a great example right now. If they're reliant on your grid because you sell them 90% of their electricity, now all of a sudden you can just cut off their electricity if they piss you off.
Which is what they're doing with pipelines.
Yes, but this is just new. Like, it's interesting. Like, it's I think I've said this on the podcast before. You'd have to be an idiot to still support expanding oil production and reserve. Like, it's a dying.
Which U.S., China, and Russia
and Canada
all pointedly did not sign a treaty for coal and oil non-proliferation because they're going to be increasing their investments in oil and gas and coal.
And I like, from a purely, this is a business podcast after all, from a purely business side, like, perspective, investing in oil and gas is a bad investment right now.
Objectively, it's not.
I think it is. I think it's diminishing returns. Like, you can make a ton of money in a Ponzi scheme.
True.
I would say that's a bad investment. I don't think... sure, you can make a bunch of...
Wall Street would disagree.
Yeah, and Wall Street are all fucking crooks.
Oil and gas is a great investment. There's
making money quickly, and a lot of it doesn't mean it's a good investment.
There's options on the market right now, like in significant volume, enough that it can't be disregarded, looking for $200 a barrel.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because if you recall, Canada's only profitable at $100 a barrel.
No, some of it's like 140.
Yeah, and the price of oil right now is like $40 a barrel?
No. For like around 100.
I don't think it's that high. Google it.
It's been going up, bud. It was when
COVID.
when gas was like 80 cents, then it was $40 a barrel.
Oh yeah, gas is like $1.50 right now.
But anyways, where were we going with
Yeah,
that?
because like OPEC is like fuck America basically.
Okay, here's the thing about OPEC though. I mean, they have a lot of reserves, but there's a decent body of evidence indicating that a lot of the producers are capped. Like they can't produce, like they physically can't produce more.
Just build more, right? Build more.
Right, but like in whatever time frame.
Sure.
They can drill more, whatever. Like it can be increased over time.
But right now.
But yeah, it's week by week. It's
Okay.
it's supply demand, right?
Yeah.
They basically, if you look at how much, if you look at the demand, if you look at the price, if you look at their cost of production, there's no reason that a lot of these producers wouldn't be producing more.
Okay.
The fact that they're not, the only
indicates that they can't.
That they can't, or would be getting strong-armed, but it's more likely that they can't.
Okay.
Because there's no reason for them to get strong-armed, right? Because nobody needs a crisis.
But remember, a lot of these oil producing countries are in conflict right now. Afghanistan, Iran, like they're
Sure.
all...
Yeah, which, I mean, again, just points back to can't.
Yeah, sure, okay, yeah, sure.
Whatever the reasons
Yeah,
may be.
because if you can't work your oil rig because Taliban might shoot at you,
Yeah,
that's just the same...
as no oil.
As no oil, yeah.
Yeah.
The largest oil reserves in the world are under Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And that's made them one of the most wealthy nations in the world. The only reason they're not as wealthy as America is because they're not big enough. They're not as big as America.
They just haven't been doing it for long enough.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I saw a fucking picture the other day of like 20 years ago, Dubai.
Yeah.
Versus now, and it's like literally like shacks in a desert versus the most developed city ever.
Yeah, utopia.
You know, they had to invent a new star system for hotels
Right.
because it used to be out of 5.
Now they have like a 7-star
They
hotel.
have 7-star hotels now because Dubai put in hotels that were so fancy it blew away. Because like I guess they have this like Michelin or whoever has this fucking 500 system. Like, okay, if the bathrooms are like this, give it out of 5, and the food is like that, whatever, and it maxed every single category, which they've never seen before, and they're like, I guess this is better than a 5-star hotel.
Yeah, you
And now
can't. If you max every category, the categories have to be changed.
Yeah, so now there's like 7-star hotels in Dubai that are so fancy. You know, in the Burj Khalifa, I have the hiccups. Sorry. You know, in the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world,
Mm-hmm.
in Dubai, you can watch the sunset and then take the bullet elevator all the way to the roof of the building and watch the sunset a second time.
Yeah, for like a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool. You have to take 2 elevators to the roof, 2 or 3, because physics doesn't allow you to build an elevator tall enough. You have to like split it up. Like there's too much pressure or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
that
have to like
yeah, that makes sense.
you have to like have a second one.
Big hiccup.
Fine.
So back to my original point, we have $200 oil, which is probably outside what's actually going to happen, but it was considered like an outside hedge.
Wait, so
Outside hedge on the upside.
people are buying futures at $200?
Yeah. No, options.
Options. Who's selling these options?
Have you seen The Big Short?
I have seen The Big Short.
It's in that region.
Okay.
They'll sell you anything you want. They're like, okay, buddy.
He had to
We'll take your money.
shout out The Big Short. It's a fucking great film and all based on true events. That's actually how it went down. Where he was
Really?
like, I want to bet against the housing market.
And they're like, ha ha ha.
And he's like, no, I'm serious. And they're like, and he had to invent a new kind of option to like buy against prices of houses.
Yeah, and then everyone wanted one. So, in short, basically, if he wouldn't have done that, the banks would have lost out on a bunch of profit. Hot take.
I don't.
If
Well,
they
he won.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, who really won? The reason that the 2008 financial crisis wasn't as bad as it could have been, is because those financial institutions that created the crisis went and bought the same options that he did.
Yeah, and then you know what happened afterwards? They got bailed out. Government just gave them billions.
Right, so they made money on the way down.
And then got bailed out.
And they got bailed out, and they made money all the way up.
Such a fucking sketch. That's not capitalism.
No, it's not. Yeah, back to the point. $100 oil. So you have climate change slapping you in the motherfucking face with this long ass dick. You can't.
That was
ignore
my.
it. You could ignore it.
That wasn't my nickname in high school.
Okay, thank God.
I'm so sad.
Finally.
It's called
I'm
alcohol
trying
beyond
to
this.
speak.
It's called alcohol beyond this point, not fucking dum beyond this point.
So climate change slapping you in the face. In 50 years, people are gonna look back and be like, "How the fuck do you idiots not do anything at this point?" Like, not only was the science there, but there was literal headlines.
Yeah. World is burning. World is flooding.
And they'll be like, "Look at what it cost us,
Yeah.
you morons."
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you.
Like, not that you couldn't see it coming. You could see it coming,
And you
but
didn't do anything.
But you could not sacrifice your comforts.
Well, it's not even comforts. Like, I feel like...
Luxuries.
Not even, though. I feel like if we wanted to...
It's whimsy.
No. I feel like if we wanted to, as a society, like the West, or at least America, Canada, could literally change nothing about our daily lives and just make the transition from...
Yeah.
Like... Yeah, if ever, like, for a great example, the province of Manitoba, the province that we both live in, generates 100% of its energy from hydroelectric power. Now, we're in a weird situation when we have a lot of rivers, we can do it, right? Some places are dry, they don't have whatever. But if every single state in the United States coordinated, and Arizona and Texas built solar panels, and fucking Mississippi built windmills,
Mm-hmm.
and fucking the river ones, I guess the Mississippi, the river ones built hydroelectric dams, like, and the coast built fucking wave power. I did a report, sidebar, I did a report on wave power in like grade 11 science.
Yep.
Why are we not funding this?
Bay of Fundy, yeah.
It's literally like floating generators that are powered by the waves going up and down what generates.
So that's not even tidal. Yeah, that's just waves.
Yeah,
That's another, I guess, version of wind power.
but it's like, why are we not funding this? Like, that seems like a fucking slam dunk. Just put them in the ocean, right? And then tidal power is another one where the tide comes in and out and it goes through these fucking generators.
So
before
the moon powers your house.
literal. Why are we not funding this shit? Anyway, whatever. But if the coast funded that shit, the Southern America did all the solar, the fucking Middle America did all the wind, and the fucking River America, the Swamp America did the hydroelectric, I promise you could come out farther than you are with coal right now.
Hot take. Nuclear.
Oh, okay, don't even get me started on nuclear, because
fusion technology is actually getting very close. But nuclear, in general, the only downside to nuclear, like done with modern technology,
there is none.
Responsibly.
There is none.
Yes, there is.
No, there isn't.
Yes, there is. No, this is a serious discussion right now that a green future cannot be achieved without nuclear, because what you're describing is not possible everywhere. In America, yes.
I'll stop.
But globally, no.
I'll stop trolling and I'll be serious. The CAN 2 reactors, which Canada invented, are used in like 30 other countries. I was just reading about this recently. We stopped selling them to India after India did a fucking nuclear bomb test in like the 90s.
Right, because
like
they
way too late. Like, and we're like, no, yeah, because they were fighting.
China.
No, they were like fighting another country right beside them. This whole thing.
Geographically,
Just Google
ignorant.
India nuclear program. But anyway, the Cantu reactors, invented by Canadians, are one of the most efficient nuclear reactors in the world. People forget, like 60% of Ontario, our largest province, is powered by nuclear fusion. And we've never had a problem.
And the only downside is the waste, which is, in terms of like physical, occupation of space and hazard and whatever, pretty minor. Call Elon Musk, Mr. I want to save the world. Get him to personally sponsor and pay for a rocket that just takes nuclear waste
And just throws it
once
into
every
space.
5 years and just yeets that motherfucker into space.
So as far as I understand,
Just send it to Pluto.
our reactor that we have in Canada, the Cantu, is it's like a different isotope or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like much better for. It's like this big. If you're watching the video version of this podcast, you can see that I'm making like a small circle with my hand. It's like a circle. It's like a foot wide.
Yeah.
Little rod that's spent, and then they just bury it in a well or whatever.
Yeah, like it's in compared to everything else, it's extremely low risk.
Oh, it's extremely safe. Something like Chernobyl is what, because you don't want fucking nuclear power because Chernobyl. Do you know Chernobyl happened because something minorly went wrong? They didn't have anyone who understood nuclear physics in the building.
Yeah.
Nobody on staff knew anything about nuclear physics. So they just started guessing. And they fucked it up.
And more people have died in the last 2 years from 2 is maybe a bad number because everything's been closed. More people have been killed in the last 5 years from school shootings in America than Chernobyl.
Didn't like 30 people die in Chernobyl?
Yeah.
Like, fuck off.
It's like Sandy Hook.
Like, yeah, it's like one school shooting. Like,
yeah,
and then
all those crisis actors died.
3 Mile Island was the other one in America. There was a nuclear reactor meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody died.
Yeah.
It was fine. And then the big one recently was Fukushima.
Yeah.
Which was which was because they built a fucking reactor on a fault line.
Which was avoidable. Yeah.
Stop building reactors on fault lines, you idiots.
Yeah, that one was avoidable. They're all avoidable. Like that, and it was also
because Canada has been using like nearly like more than half of our energy generated in Ontario is nuclear, and there has never been a problem since the 60s.
Yeah, no, modern tech has virtually eliminated risk, and well-funded, well-researched, regulated with oversight. Like, it's fine. It's a very good alternative, and it's pretty much the only alternative we have at this point.
Do you know why?
In any reasonable amount of time.
Do you know why people are scared of nuclear?
Because bomb.
They think they think that a nuclear bomb is this. It's completely different.
This is why they're going towards. This is why fusion is exciting, because it's not the same. It's not a nuclear plant. It's a fusion plant. Like it's different technology. It doesn't have the same.
The connotation.
No, not just that, but doesn't have the same radioactive yield.
Okay.
It's far safer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those like impossible, like the V8.
Explain to me like I'm 5, a fusion reactor versus a nuclear reactor.
Let me Google it because
I'm gonna piss
not
quick.
going to hit this at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so nuclear fission is current technology. Nuclear fission. Power plants have the disadvantage of generating unstable nuclei. Some of these are radioactive for millions of years. So that's that waste that you just put in a bunker, can't do shit about.
Yeah, what they've been doing is like...
Or yeet it into space.
They throw them into salt mines and then bury them in concrete.
Right. So it becomes effectively inert because it's down in the dirt, it's gone.
Yeah.
Below the water table. nuclear fusion plants,
Okay.
on the other hand, does not create any long-lived nuclear waste,
Okay.
radioactive nuclear waste.
Yep.
A fusion reactor produces helium, which is completely inert.
And this is a concept?
It is a concept, but also they're getting close in practicality.
Okay. So this is exactly what I was talking about, where
That aha moment.
combustion engine is that we're just fucking helium reactor.
But here's my...
Wait, what do they burn? Or what do they...
It's like radioactive material, like uranium and whatever.
Newton's, which law? You can't get rid of matter, you have to just convert it. Whatever law that is.
I don't know which
You need
law.
something to turn into something else.
Yeah. But the ratio, like, think about like a gas, like a combustion engine.
Yeah.
Is something like 90% waste in terms of
in
terms of energy.
Super inefficient.
Yeah, 90% of the energy of that fuel is lost.
Yeah.
In how it's combusted.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's combusted with oxygen, maybe not perfect mixture. It has to move a piston. The piston has friction. The piston has to turn a crank. The crank has mass.
Yeah.
The crank has to turn a clutch. The clutch has resistance. The clutch has to turn a gear. The gear has resistance. The gear has to turn another gear, which has more resistance, which turns another spider gear, which turns a drive shaft, which turns a bearing, which turns a wheel, which touches concrete, which, like, you
Yes.
name a thing. Like,
Yeah.
everything, there's attrition along the whole system.
Yeah.
But even I think not even accounting for the attrition of the drivetrain, like a combustion engine only has a certain level of efficiency. Obviously, it goes up over time, which is why I said earlier, replacing the car doesn't fix the problem. Like, if we fixed everything but the car, we'd probably still be golden. Because the progression of combustion engines towards, like, maximum efficiency is...
Well, and then imagine we have electric cars and we fix other shit.
Right, we have electric cars, we have extremely efficient gasoline cars, we have
Yeah.
extremely efficient clean diesels.
Sure.
And then
Clean
we fix,
coal.
and then we fix everything else.
Yeah.
We're golden. We
Yeah.
we wouldn't need to get rid of gas-powered cars.
So
It's symbolic.
sure, which I think is going away with every generation. All the boomers that are like, I don't know why fucking petrol cars are just this masculine thing. Yeah.
You should hear my van.
You know what I always said this when I was in high school and my friends had cars and they like purposely chopped the mufflers.
Yeah.
I know you did that shit too.
Yeah. It was actually me, I admit it.
My
catalytic converter wasn't stolen.
I always preferred cars that were quiet.
Yeah.
I think that's cooler. Like a Fisker.
Yeah.
And I only know this because of the Childish Gambino song.
Yeah.
Where he's like, start my Fisker, and then the sound's like, brr, and then the song cuts, and he's like, Fiskers don't make noise when they start up, just so you know. It was completely silent. Didn't make a sound when you turned it on. And they actually got discontinued because people didn't like it.
A Fisker is an electric car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks
like a Jaguar.
The Teslas add a start sound.
Yeah.
That's an artificial start sound that you hear. When you hit the button on a Tesla, it goes like it's fucking what do you call it?
Start.
Yeah, but
ignition, yeah.
Yeah, well, why is that happening?
Starter motor.
Yeah. It's making a fake starter motor sound.
Yeah.
Just because people like it. And because they don't know when their car's starting.
And one of the mods you can get is like venting from the electric motor. It like vents not air, but sound right out to the fender of your car.
Just to make it
so you can hear the whine of the electric engine. So you hear the as it speeds up.
I think it's cool to have a car that doesn't make any sound. I don't know. I think that's
until
cool.
you hit a pedestrian because you can't hear you coming.
Fuck them.
True.
Get off the road.
But yeah, really, Fishers discontinued?
Fiskers, yeah.
Fisker?
Yeah, they don't exist anymore.
Those are some cool cars.
Yeah. Yeah, I only
They're
knew about
Canadian
that.
too.
Are they? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
They're
Yeah, I only
Canadian company.
I only know that because there's a Childish Gambino song. I forget which song where he's like, start my Fisker, and then in the background it's like brr, 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 whatever, and then he stops the song to be like, oh yeah, my Fisker didn't make any noise when it starts up, just so you know.
Teslas are weird too. They don't have an ignition on or off. You just walk in, you put it in drive.
Really?
Yep. They don't have on off. They don't have ignition. Like, you just literally you get in the car and it's already on.
Yeah.
And you put it in drive. And then when you stop, you put it in park and you leave.
I didn't know that.
You don't turn it off.
I didn't know that.
It turns off automatically when you walk away from it.
The only time I've ever been in my friend's Teslas was in the backseat, I think.
Yeah, no, I test drove a P90D.
Okay.
But yeah, there's no ignition.
Interesting.
But like when you drive, it'll like port sound in through the speakers.
Yeah, because it's doing that on purpose to make you.
Ford does that too.
Fascinating. Humans are fucking weird.
Yeah. So Ford's been moving towards like 4-cylinder twin turbos, V6 twin turbos. Their Ford Raptor is like this. It's got tons of power, but low emissions. V6 twin turbo.
Well, even the new. I always make fun of Ford F-150s. Like, that's my like. If I think if I look at a guy who I'm like, that guy has a small dick.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he probably drives a Ford F-150, right?
Yeah.
These new like EcoBoost ones are like super efficient for petrol.
They're efficient in terms of emissions. They're not actually better on gas.
That's what I mean. They're better for the environment.
Yeah, they're no better on gas than a V8.
That's funny. That's fine though, in my opinion.
But they are more efficient in terms of emissions.
That's what I meant. Is like they're polluting less.
Like the EcoBoost.
Yeah, was for the environment, not for you.
Was for the environment, not for the gas. It was one of the biggest marketing blunders in history, because EcoBoost people assumed meant a more economical car in terms of fuel economy.
And then they bought it, found out it wasn't. And we're like, what the fuck for?
Right. So the joke was you either get Eco or you get Boost.
Okay, all right.
So either you get fuel economy or you get power. Yeah. And realistically, if you're actually using the horsepower of your truck, you're going to get equivalent fuel economy to a V8 because you can't get around the efficiency of gasoline.
So I've been driving a Mercedes for the last 4 years nearly.
Mm-hmm.
And god damn, that fucking engine's efficient.
Yeah, because
like I get really good miles per gallon.
Well, you're using a 4-cylinder turbo.
Yeah, it's turbocharged, but it's a small inline 4.
Yeah,
but it's turbocharged.
Yeah, so you have a small 4-cylinder turbo, but you have like an 8 or 7-speed transmission.
7, yeah, 8, yeah.
7, yeah.
7, yeah.
I know 8 because I had an 8 and I never use 8th gear.
The 8, yeah, my transmission's wild because, it's shifting so often, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have my paddle shifters, and so every so often on my like the perimeter, I'll just bring out the paddle shifters just to have fun. Yeah, and it's like you're fucking, you're like redlining, and it's like, oh, okay, redlining, fucking go, and when you go from, depends how fast you're accelerating, like depends how close I have it to the ground, but probably 3rd to 4th or 4th to 5th, the shift, you just hear the fucking turbo go.
Yeah.
And then it's like you jump. Like you just go and it's like, oh, okay, all right, now we're driving. But I presume a lot of these European engines are, because Europe has way stricter fuel efficiency laws than we do.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Europe's been doing it because of fuel prices.
Well, because they have high carbon taxes. That's the only reason.
Like $2 to $5 a liter, or like
because of
like
taxes.
$6, $8 a gallon gas.
Because it's taxes.
And just because they don't have the purchasing power and the resources that we have.
Neither does Canada.
We produce a shitload of oil.
Almost none of our oil is usable for cars.
Right,
it's too heavy.
Right, no, but it's like
it's great for asphalt and stuff, but you can't really you can't refine it to be in petrol.
But I mean, like our energy output and input, like what we import versus what we export, like it offsets. Like they just import. They don't have shit.
Sure.
So their prices are always higher, but also taxes.
It's 90% taxes.
So, statistics of car ownership in Europe is
very low,
very surprising. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like something like 30% of families have a car.
Yeah. Yeah, but their cities are made so you don't need one.
Exactly.
We do.
Which is another main, like, I don't...
Winnipeg has shitty public transit. It's very cold, and we're very spread out.
Yeah.
We all need cars here.
And our gas is affordable.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Extenuating circumstances excluded. Okay, so before I forget about it, I wanted to read... and we keep bouncing all over the place, obviously, because that's what we do. So, climate change, be as it is, in 50 years we'll look back like a bunch of fucking morons.
Yep.
So this is a big company, about 60 years in business.
Shrugging doctor.
Yeah. Supplier of mine sends this email day after the big news hits of all the roads going out. It says... the rainfall over the last few days in British Columbia has caused significant flooding and disruptions to the road and rail infrastructure. By the way, the flooding we're talking about fucked up the main pipeline, the main rail, and the Trans-Canada Highway.
Yeah, everything's fucked.
The access highways leaving southwest BC are currently closed, and we do not yet have an expected reopening date. This has disrupted our ability to ship product within Western Canada, which may affect the availability of any orders which you have placed with us. We will resume transfers as soon as it is feasible and safe to do so. If any questions at all, including to confirm availability of any orders scheduled for pickup, please do not hesitate to contact your local branch. Is like, if you ordered, we probably can't get it to you.
Yeah, that's what I was...
Because
this came in today?
Yeah.
Because we were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
And you're like, actually, I wonder.
90% of this distributor's material comes from Port of Vancouver.
Yeah.
So, holy shit. Like, they're not even saying, it's going to be delayed by what... They're like,
it's not happening.
Indefinitely, we can't deliver this.
Yeah.
And they're, like, being the guy that's always been... writing these emails for they're like, okay, Tyler, you know how to write these fucking things. Everything's on fire. Like, write it so people don't panic.
Because you have to tell your clients that things are going to be delayed now.
So write it so people don't panic. This drips, don't panic.
Yeah.
But is 100% panicking.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. If your main distribution center is in Vancouver right now, which is
most of us,
60% of companies, you're fucked. So looking back in history, people will see this and be like, wow, that sounds like a very fucking obvious indicator of an issue. And you know what would make sense? General consensus around maybe doing something about it. But you know what instead happens? You waited.
And now we're in
until
a disaster, yeah.
Event X happened, which was 100 times worse. And you're like, oh, this was painful last time, but now it's so painful, we're literally going to die. No, we're actually, no, oh, you died, shit.
Ah, shit.
Next guy. We're going to die. Now we must do something about it. Like, human nature basically says we can get used to anything. We can adapt to change. We can adapt to new conditions. We will not change our behavior unless it is like acute, mortal danger happening fucking tomorrow. Because people are like, what about my Christmas presents?
Yeah, they're not giving a shit about. Maybe I'll be on fire. They care about their Christmas presents. Yeah.
Yeah. When Christmas is canceled fully, will America take this seriously?
Yeah, hopefully, right?
And like you said earlier, if you're looking at a bill or a law that's coming into place, and if you can't look at that thing and say, if it was used against me or against my party,
would I still want it?
Would I still support it?
Yeah.
Or is it still fair? Is it still good governance? Is this responsible? Is this ethical?
Yeah.
Which I think is just kind of a joke at this point. You have to fight this progression of voter suppression you have to fight this progression of nationalist agenda that's just being accepted because masks are bad. Critical race theory is destroying your children and making them feel bad. And changing the energy infrastructure is going to affect the bottom line and make your hydro prices, your electricity prices, your power prices go up at the end of the month. When the fuck is your breaking point?
So
It's too far. I have zero faith.
So you know how we like good transitions here at Alcohol Beyond this
No, I
point?
don't. I haven't heard of such.
And we're going to transition here into our last segment, which is called Business Tip of the Week, where Tyler and I give you business tips that we are personally going through in business. And my business tip of the week relates exactly to this, because I know some people that make a living off of importing stuff from China and reselling it here.
Yeah.
And they are going to be fucked
Yep.
if we can't fix this trading route.
Yep.
So my business tip is maybe like as things start to get worse, climate problems start to get worse, this isn't going to get better, all this shit. I think you need to start not necessarily scaling back, but just being more aware of where your manufacturers are. Because 5 years ago, you could be like, yeah, it's the heyday. I don't give a shit. You can buy anything anywhere, Alibaba, fucking wherever.
Oh, we can get this cheaper in Thailand. Let's do that.
Yeah. But my business tip is just I don't think it's late and you don't have to start making the transition yet. But just the business that you're running, if you want that to be your career for until you retire, like for me, that'll be the next 45 years. Be aware that you might have to figure out, domestic manufacturing or, your supply chains that go through, from Mexico instead of from China, right? Like just start to put that in your mind. Like what if the port, the largest port in my off camera, Tyler just broke a bunch of shit. He's knocked over a whole shelf and a bunch of shit. I think what I was saying is, what if the biggest port in my country goes away? What if climate disasters flood the roadways that I get all my shit from? What if I live in a politically ambiguous place, and if a climate war starts out or China starts invading us or whatever, what does that mean for my supply lines? And that's my business tip, is just start, maybe even like what helps me is making almost a pro and con list of like what's going to happen, like not pro and con, but like event and effect. Like make a list of, okay, if this happens, here's how it's going to affect the business. If this happens, this is how it's going to affect the business. So do something like that. And just be aware, because I think in the next 5, 10, 20 years, things are going to get insane.
That sounds like a risk assessment section in a business plan.
More or less, but I know a lot of entrepreneurs that don't have any idea what's happening.
Yeah, fair. But I believe that climate change is going to be like an essential part of risk assessment in getting loans and financing.
I heard that now business loans are making you put a
COVID.
Pandemic contingency in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This will be the next thing.
Your business tip of the week, Tyler.
I'm gonna go a little bit meta on this. Don't dump that over. I think that there's a great benefit to screaming into the void and reconciling this podcast with my actual day-to-day business is like, there's no realistic reason that I should be spending my time on this. However, your business is what you do to earn a living, make profit, exercise some skill of yours to gain satisfaction, to serve your community, what have you. It's going to serve a number of needs, but it's not going to serve intellectually often. It's not going to serve everything that you're paying attention to on a regular basis. I think my business tip is going to be more in terms of mental health and how are you going to cope with, the fucking terrors that be. And if this was a podcast about business success, it would cater towards the guy that bought the Tesla stock that split and made $500,000. But that's not wholesome advice.
Because that guy died of alcohol poisoning.
Because he killed himself. That's not a holistic approach to business, because your mental state and your ability to handle not only the money that comes to you, but also what to do with it and what to do with yourself. Because when your needs are taken care of, this is my favorite question to ask as a salesperson, actually, was when you achieve the goal that you're laying out for me today. You want to have 7 rental properties that makes X amount of money and you can effectively retire. You have enough money to go on a trip. You got enough money to buy that car. You got enough money to own that house. You got enough money to retire your wife. Put your kids through college. At that point, what do you do? What do you do with yourself? What do you do with your time? What do you do with your energy?
People that retire are pussies.
It's not the retirement. It's the what's on the other side of that goal you have.
What are you working for? What are you working towards?
Right. Those goals are ubiquitous and effective because most people never achieve them.
That's a good line right there.
Fucking quote it. Put it on a t-shirt, bitch.
Yeah, you're always dangling the carrot because you'll never get it.
Yeah, and the poors are the stick. So, if you're anything like this, you're realistically going to achieve your goals. We're probably going to fucking smash through them in the next 5 to 10
I'm
years.
I'm certain I am.
Yeah, we're going to smash through them. And then we're going to be like, now what?
Yeah.
So don't just focus on how do I trudge through this immediate challenge? Because 10 grand in your bank account, 10 grand on your credit card, 10 grand to spend on that trip next weekend is meaningless compared to you actually finding the solution to that problem that hits you in the back of your head. I've probably spent most of my life from a teen, and young adult going through northern communities in Canada, speaking to communities, seeing. I spent my time on tour. We talked to inner city schools. We talked to isolated communities. We talked to reserves. We went to ghettos. We talked to churches. We talked to organizations that were really struggling, had kids that were, at extremely high suicide rates. And we try to look at it as, how do you turn this around? How do you turn this crisis around? And I thought my greatest mission in life was to find that answer.
Yeah.
And to say, I have this formula, I can go fix these problems now. And I thought that I could go find a formula and I could go fix the problems. And then I get educated on residential schools. I get educated on how race plays into it.
Yeah, generational trauma.
Generational trauma, just financial inequality, racial inequality, political inequality. Everything that I learned just set me so far back from what I thought that from even believing that there was a solution, like we just debated. Is it even possible? Everyone has that something that they want to champion, that the little thing that they want to solve. And it's probably not profitable. It's probably not something you can write in a business plan. But maybe you just need to talk about it. Maybe you just need to write about it. Maybe you need to make a video about it. Maybe do it through pictures, do it through art, do it through whatever. Don't forget to foster that, because I think in addition to the business that I operate on a daily basis, I build luxury homes for people with way too much money.
Yeah, you were talking about someone who was like, oh, good news, honey. We saved $100,000 on our blinds.
Yeah.
Because they were spending like $1 million on blinds.
Yeah. That's the daily. But I do it because I take pride in my work. I consider myself an artisan, a craftsman, whatever the fuck.
When the fucking climate apocalypse happens, you can build us a house to live in.
I can build you... No, I can't build you a house, but I can trick it out with very expensive finishes.
Perfect.
Odds are your business is not in alignment with your true concerns. So fucking find that outlet. I'm not saying start a podcast, because
Don't do it. Don't compete with us.
Well, not just that. It's a cliche at this point.
Oh, actually, start a podcast and then collab.
Yeah, we're a cliche. Write, research, volunteer, protest, chain yourself to a fucking train, blow up a pipe. Wait.
Cause a landslide. Wait.
Bleep that out. Cause a landslide. Rain all over the parade.
Become a cloud. Rain everywhere.
But
this is going off the rails quickly.
It isn't. But trying to justify, like, why do I spend time on this podcast when it has literally no benefit to my business?
Well, you like spending time with me.
I like spending time with Willows, but I also like screaming into the void.
Me
because
too.
I'm paying attention, but I feel helpless. And just pushing the needle a fraction of a degree towards useful from helpless, even if it's this podcast, is doing great things for my mental health. And you know what? We might radicalize someone that will run for office and change it from the inside, like a good
Christian conservative, liberal Muslim,
Jewish American.
right?
Find your shit and start. Actually, just comment.
Shout out to the 7 unique listeners we had on Spotify last episode, and the, I think, 10 YouTube videos we got. We couldn't get 17 people in a room to listen to us talk, so I really appreciate.
We could get them in there. We couldn't get them back.
Fair. I thank you. Well, I really appreciate it. This has been Alcohol Beyond This Point, episode 49. My name is Willows.
My name is not Willows.
And if you're listening on Spotify, you can now answer polls that I put on every episode.
Ooh.
So if you could fill out the poll on the episode, we would really appreciate it. And if you listen to last episode where I said I would rap the anti-vax poem I received in the mail,
Follow us on SoundCloud
to a trap beat, I did it. It's on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/votewillows. You can see me rap a anti-vax poem.
And if you want to see me rap, it's on the internet.
Once we hit,
good luck.
Our $100 Patreon level is, you can see Tyler rap.
Yeah, you can see the music videos I made.
Yep. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.
I promise, I'm not that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.